Good morning and welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm Matt, this is Twigs T4, and today we're going to be continuing with the T4 project, although there's not a lot to continue with because it is pretty much coming to an end of, well, nowhere near the end actually. That's a lie because we've still got loads more to do. But it is MOT day. So we've got a few little things that need to be done. The last video I said we'll be going to Cali Campers. Well, last night I went to Cali Campers, got all the bits that I required. I've also had a few bits delivered from Lee up at Volks Magic. So we've got all the bits now to get the van finished off. So what do we have to do? Okay, well, the first little job, which really isn't for the MOT, but I want to do it anyway, is you can see the wiper arm missing. That nut, the mech on the front, when I took the nut off, actually sheared off from the actual mechanism of the wiper motor. So I've replaced the front mech, which we got from Volks Magic from Lee, so thank you for that, Lee. But when we got them, it didn't come with a new nut, and I needed a replacement nut. So we got the front working. So I went to Cali's last night, got a nut. I know I'm dragging this out already, I do apologise. So in the front we have dashes out pretty much because I've had to replace the hazard switch. Now the hazard switch comes out quite easy. Need to remove the vents. So plastic trim tool, these vents will come out. Little wee side, pull them out, cut the screws, they come out, and then hazard switch behind there. There's a couple of little metal tabs. So those little metal tabs there, push them down from behind and it slides out, slides backwards. You can then take it out, put the new one in. Thank you to Matt from JVS Auto Electrics, he sorted me out with that. Also, because Matt's going to be doing the heated screen that we got here, you can see there's some wires here. The screen fitters never actually tucked them down. I thought they were going to, but they didn't. That's not a problem for me. Matt can sort that out when he does the wiring. So I do have another heated switch that will go, one for the front, that one will go on the back. I'm not sure if we can use the same switch to do front and rear. I haven't actually asked Matt that yet. I expect he won't be able to. I also got a new plastic surround from James over at Cali Campers, and James has also got one of these for me. So I've got a new replacement one because the mech on the back here, the bit of plastic had broken. So we replaced that. What else did I get? We got some plastic trims for the rear light clusters. We got some bolts for people that people asked me to go get for them. We got a barn door hinge randomly down here. Sorry, this wheel down here in this box. We have a barn door hinge because I don't know if you noticed, but the barn doors don't line up very well, and that is because one of the hinges is completely bent. Right. Okay. And then we're pretty much ready for an MOT, so I've just got to whack all of that in, put that on the rear, and then it's down for an MOT this afternoon. So thank you to everyone that has helped so far with this build. So that's Volks Magic, Lee, thank you very much. James from Cali Campers, thank you very much. Phil and Michelle from Dream Day Campers, thank you very much, which is where the vehicle is at the moment. Right, let me get all this done. Let me take this down to the MOT station, and I will pick up with it afterwards when we're back and we know what's going on. Right, see you in a moment. So we are back from the MOT station, and I am pleased to say that the van has passed its MOT, so we can now legally drive this on the road. There was one advisory, and that one advisory was excessive wear on the front discs. I will replace the front discs and pads. I will also do that when we come round to servicing the vehicle. So the vehicle will get a full service. It will get the cam belt, the pump timing, all tensioners, even on the auxiliary belt, we're going to change all of that, sort all of that out. Everything's going to be done, so it's going to be mechanically sound. So the bodywork's looking good, the inside's looking good. We've just got this control panel that I collected from Cali Campers. So we're going to fit that control panel now, and then the back of the van needs a bit of a clean out. I could do with some advice actually, and some ideas. of what you would do for the rear. So because it's a long wheelbase and my red one's a short wheelbase, I'm thinking pop top, definitely pop top. Ideally a Remo that I can have the bed up there permanently, and then this back area we could turn the very back section up to this side of the rear wheel arches, the rear tubs. We can go up to there and make like a rear workshop, and then the middle section we could have as sort of like maybe a lounge area, and then upstairs the bed. That's the idea. Obviously we need to get some seats in the front as well. There's a lot to go on. There's still a lot to be spent on this van to get it anywhere near the standards that I need it to be. Well, not just need it to be, I want it to be. It's personal preference, but we're getting there. So the reason why I've swapped these control panels over is because previously I had a look and I took it apart, and the bottom bit down here in the plastic is actually broken, and because that was broken, this actually, when you turned it, wasn't actually doing anything. It just popped out at the bottom so it wouldn't turn. Now I put the new one in and it was very stiff. So the reason why this one broke and the reason why I've had to change it. Okay, so now why has it broken? And we don't want this one to break either, so we do some investigating. And underneath here we can see, well, there's one bend right there, and there was a really bad bend right here. It's still slightly kinked, a very slight bend, but it will now slide in and out, whereas before it was getting to that little kink and it was stuck. And then I think that's why the switch inside broke, was because he tried forcing it. Sorry about that, lorries and all that. Yeah, I think what happened is the switch had been forced, and because where it was bent, it just broke the switch. So now if we go back inside, we can see this switch will now slide backwards and forwards effortlessly. There we go. Okay. Lovely. Good stuff. So all I got to do is straighten this kink out here and then put it back on through there. Earlier. And again, it's just going to be the reverse. We'll plug these in now or afterwards, makes no difference. We'll plug them in now while we're here. there's something else that I've just discovered that we need to sort out. Turns out that barn door doesn't really want to open from the inside, so that's going to require some investigation, see why that's not working. But that is part of the job of when you're putting it back together and fit up. It takes a long time to go through it all and make sure everything's working properly. So I have had problems with that door lock actually seizing up. After it was fitted, I locked the van, shut the door, couldn't unlock it, so we had a bit of a problem there. And it actually turned out that that plastic guard that went over the lock, that was left on the lock, and when it was installed it was rattling around and it actually caused the lock to jam up. So ripped that off, that bit of security plastic, whatever it's there for, doesn't need to be there. Rip that off, and now the door locks and unlocks and opens properly. But that was a nightmare. Little things like that you got to go through and just double check everything before. I mean, if this was a customer's vehicle, we'd be doing exactly the same, going through everything, making sure that everything's working, testing everything. And if it wasn't for this, then it would go back to the customer and they'll go, oh, my door doesn't open, this doesn't open, that doesn't open. So everything does actually take time. If we wanted to do it really quick, we'd probably just leave it like that and then just send it off, and then that's your issue. But we don't. We like to do everything and get everything spot on. I know there's a lot of companies that will just paint it, throw it back together, and that's it, job done. But saying that, there's also a lot of you guys out there that actually do a cracking job putting everything back together and making sure everything is perfect. So hats off to you guys. Right, so we are back from the workshop and the vehicle's now back home. It's MOT'd, it's driving, and now it's time to get on with the mechanical work and get it all sorted, and then make a decision whether we're going to be keeping it or selling it. Now, I don't know if you remember a while ago when I first got the van, there was some sort of vibration issue going on, and up to this point I had already replaced the concentric slave cylinder for the clutch and also put a new clutch and dual mass flywheel in. So moving on, we had suggestions, people saying it was the vibration dampener, there was other people saying it was other things. So I've got absolutely everything there, and we're going to replace everything on the aux side. We've got new timing belt. Also, I did notice when I was driving it back from work last time, from the MOT station to and from, it was very tappy. So we're also going to be changing out the camshaft and all 10 lifters. But before we get on and do anything, I've secured the vehicle, its handbrake's on, battery's been disconnected, started stripping everything off, we drained the coolant. Now, when you get the rocker cover off, one bit of advice I do give you is a little bit of a rag there, and that's covering up that section of the cam, below the cam on the cylinder head, because they're the oil galleries that run straight down to the sump, yet they don't run straight down to the sump. They have there's like a little section at the bottom at the front of the block where several galleries join together, and then it runs straight through into the sump to go back through your filter and pump filter and then recircle around the engine. Now, those holes are perfect size to drop little sockets down, and ask me how I know. So after changing the camshaft and all lifters, I also replaced all of the seals, and we then put the timing back on, pump timing, engine timing, and then it was time to move on to the harder of the jobs, mainly because it's just awkward. But it was then moving on to doing the tensioner and engine mount, because we're also going to replace the engine mount while we're doing the tensioner. We might as well, and there's no harm in getting the new engine mount, which is located right there with those two nuts. There's no harm in getting it, and if I don't need to replace it, I don't need to. That's another little bugger to get to, a little 10mm there. There's also a 13mm round the back just in there, which is also quite hard to get into. But I'm not going to do a how-to guide on this kind of video, but it is a little bit tricky to do, a little bit challenging. You've got to take the weight of the engine. So usually I would have probably used an engine crane. However, you can't use an engine crane because the engine crane hook, that little eye which you can see just there, um, is actually part of the engine mount and bracket for the tensioner. So you can just see me removing that bolt at the back there, and it's a 13 on a little elbow joint flexi. So once you got them out, there's 3 bolts, big bolts down the side, and it's all pretty straightforward. And then you've got your tensioner out. So I'm going to actually replace the pulley as well as the tensioner, but while we're here, I'm also going to clean everything up, and we're going to re-grease absolutely everything, because it was very stiff in there. Even once I removed the tensioner, it didn't want to turn at all, didn't want to rotate. So I think the best bet is I've got a tiny wire wheel. We can run a little tiny wire wheel down there. I've got some other wire wheels. We can clean this up and grease it all up. Update: we have now cleaned it out. It's all been degreased, and hopefully this will go in and slide, you know, in and well, not doesn't really need to slide in and out. It's just that kind of motion we need, which is lovely. Look at that, freedom. It's got the freedom to move. Yeah, that's good. Happy days. So next thing is to put it all back together and start it up. You can see here little dots of Tipex, just to make sure that I rotated that bolt 180 degrees, because if you haven't done these bolts before, they're quite tight. So let's move on and fire her up and see how she runs. And now it's time to move on to servicing the vehicle. So we've just finished doing all the pump timing, engine timing, replacing absolutely everything. And now you can see there's no issues with any vibration at all through the engine. It could have been the crank dampener, the vibration dampener, but the one that I took off, there was no cracks in it, and it actually looked relatively new. Didn't look that bad. I think the issue all along was actually that tensioner at the top where it was seized. So I could have saved myself money, but it's neither here nor there. It's done. So peace of mind for if I do sell this, the next customer, peace of mind that everything's been changed and they got a good vehicle. So part of this engine service that I'm doing, I like to run a flush through it. Now I know there's going to be people that are going to say, oh, you shouldn't use a flush because it causes leaks, or it does this and it does that. Well, if it's causing leaks, it's because it's removed the crud from around that area where there would have been a leak beforehand. So I've replaced all the seals. I've put new cam rocker cover gasket on. So I've gone through and checked everything, and there is no oil leaks even after doing all of this. So engine flush, I always like to run an engine flush, and for the sake of 6-7 quid for however much it is to purchase, it's worth doing. The only thing is I leave it to drain for a long while. So while it's draining, I'll go on and do other jobs, and then I may jack the van up on the driver's side, and I'll leave it for maybe half hour jacked up that side. I'll lower it down, leave it for like another 20 minutes, half hour, because loads more oil will drain out, and then I'll jack it up the other side and let all of that drain out, and then lower it. So all in all, I'd probably leave it draining for maybe about 4 or 5 hours, and even then there's still it's, you know, I keep going until there's no more draining, and then once it's kind of sort of like finished dripping, I then change the oil filter afterwards. So it has got fresh oil in it now. It's got new oil filter. We've got new, all filters have been replaced. Air filter, pollen filter, oil filter, fuel filter. So this van, in my mind, is good to go. It's good to go. And with the mileage on it, 200 and, I can't see from here, my eyesight's terrible. But yeah, with the mileage that's on it, happy days. Happy days. All done, all good. Ready to move on to the next job. So the next job, which is actually, I still need to do this, I need to replace for the MOT advisory, was front discs and pads. Now that is what I'm going to be replacing very soon. I've also got to replace these speakers. I have bought some very cheap, I think they're Vibe from Halfords, even cheaper than these ones, if that's possible. And it's only because they're quite a shallow speaker, so it doesn't have that dome bit on the top. And the dome bits, I'm not really keen on them because they just capture all the dirt and then crackle, and yeah, just not the greatest of qualities, not in the front of the van anyway. So we are replacing those speakers. That'll be done Monday. As you can see there's the air filter, new pollen filter, fuel filter, all of that good stuff. So yeah, just discs and pads to do on the front, which I completely forgot about until editing this video, hence why I'm now going, oh no, I need to do that. But I did actually go ahead and I drained and I done a flush on the brake system. So that this, well, you can see here what came out of the brake system, absolutely minging, disgusting. So I've actually run through a couple of litres because, you know, it was really bad and it had to be sorted out. Apart from that, no other issues along the way. It's all good, all done. Yeah, happy days. Right, so let's bring this to an end, this video. Well, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is the fact that I'm able to go straight through from the passenger side. I guess it's not so much the elephant in the room, it's the elephant that's not in the room, and that would be the passenger seat. Now, I sold the double seat because the intentions were to put in 2 singles. I do have the base already for a single, and I was looking for some seats to put in here, but I haven't been able to find the seats that I wanted to put in. So I'm still going to keep looking for the seats, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to find them and get them stuck in here. But it's now left me, you know, at this point here. I've had a few messages from Instagram, people saying that I'd be interested in buying this van. But this is where I'm not too sure. Do I sell it now without the conversion, and then without the pop top? Then anyone can do whatever they want with it. It's all ready for electrics to go in, installation. Do we sell it? I mean, I've put extras on here as well. So the steering wheel, currently the steering wheel in the T4 was the Momo quick release. Now I've removed that and I've actually gone back to an OEM steering wheel in the T4, which looks absolutely pucker because I've recovered it. Not only done the handle, but I've done the centre bit as well. So we'll have a look at that. I'll put a little photo in now, or you can have a look on Instagram. I don't know, whatever's easier, depends. So steering wheel, because I put the old steering wheel back on, I actually had some springs missing that are for the horn that make contact. And so anyway, I've just had to make some springs for this because I stole the springs out of this, put it on the red one, and then obviously the horn didn't work. So I've made some springs, happy days. Horn now works, everything works. And can you see what that is right there? This here, we've got cruise control, genuine cruise control stalk. So have a look at that. Yes, lovely. Set on. Yeah, lovely. Very good, very nice. So I've taken all of the plastics off, and everything underneath is all lovely and clean. So that's a bonus. Right. Oh yeah, God, it really hurts. I hit my head earlier. Trying to get in underneath, trying to plug in the cruise control switch. But yeah, so it's got a genuine cruise control. It's got a Pioneer stereo. It's got some cheap Vibe speakers in the front. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys reckon about selling it or keeping it, or I don't know what to do. But genuinely don't know. Two minds. But we'll do a walk around video when we actually come to, you know, once I've made up my mind from all the comments. Yeah. Right, I think I'm just going to leave it there, because until I know what I'm doing with seats, the van's pretty much done. I mean, it needs a good clean. Windows need cleaning. Just, yeah. But what do you reckon? What do you reckon? I mean, the dash needs sorting out. I mean, that's why I'm not doing everything, because you got to leave some bits for the next owner, because some people want to modify. Yeah, but at least you know everything's been done on it, everything mechanically, everything's sound. Oh, headlining. Now the headlining was knackered. I'll put in a little photo here of where the corner up here was broken away. So I've actually done some repairs using some strips of, what was it? It's an old tea towel, so cotton. So long, thin strips of cotton. We got some PVA glue. We mixed it up with some water, and we actually just made up that corner with the, like paper mache, but with cloth. And actually that's come out really well. So now I've just got to line it. But I don't know whether there's any point lining it, because if I do it in grey and then someone wants to do the van in black, they're going to have to line it themselves anyway. So I'm not sure. Maybe I just put it back in as it is, and then the plastic trim can go back in, because that's all that's left really. That is all that's left. Right, well, let me know. And I will see you all soon. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.